Hello and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to give you your feedback from the Week 10 discussion about monarchies and the church. And in this one, I'm just going to focus on the first question of the chapter discussions because it's comparing three different kingdoms. So I think there's enough material that I want to make it a single video, and then I'll come back to questions 2 and 3 in other videos. So the question was, what similarities and differences do we see between the development of England, France, and the German Empire? The German Empire, sometimes known as the Holy Roman Empire, because it was founded by Charlemagne in alliance with the Pope, hence holy, and because it was claiming not simply to be in control of Germany, but to be the empire, reviving the Roman Empire in the West after it had ceased to exist in the 5th century, hence Roman. So in terms of similarities, well, clearly they're both monarchies. They're both ruled by a single man. And they are examples of what historians call sacral kingship, the idea that kingship came from God, that they were appointed there as Christ's deputies to govern on behalf of God. This gave them an element of prestige and authority. England and France, in many ways, were very similar to one another. They were both fairly territorially focused and limited kingdoms. You might call them national kingdoms. The word national is perhaps a little out of place in the Middle Ages. They're not modern nations, but we see the origins of modern nations of the United Kingdom and France in the medieval kingdoms of England and France. And both England and France developed a sophisticated administrative bureaucracy. England first, France only later, about in the time of Philip II in the early 13th, late 12th centuries. Skilled bureaucrats created an administration to govern, to raise taxes, etc., making them very effective monarchies. And all three monarchies had problems with the church. There were ongoing disputes in the Middle Ages as to where the authority of the church ends and that of the king begins. If the king is a sacral monarch, he claims some degree of control over the church, but the Pope wishes to retain independence of the church from the rule of kings and emperors. For example, Henry II in England went so far as to murder the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Becket, a huge controversy, as you can imagine. Now, we'll move on then to the differences between them. Well, as England and France developed national monarchies on a limited territorial basis, the Holy Roman Empire claimed to be a universal monarchy. It claimed authority beyond merely its own borders. And even within its own borders, it was a vast territory comprising all of modern Germany, northern Italy, the modern nations of Switzerland, the Netherlands, parts of Belgium, parts of Poland. I could go on and on. Basically, most of Central Europe was within the empire. This made it a lot harder to govern than England and France. It never developed that centralized administration that the English and French monarchs achieved. So far from becoming a national monarchy, it really lost its authority in the later half of the Middle Ages. It ceased to exist as anything more than a title on paper. The German princes and the Italian cities became more or less independent. Also, the break from the church was far more serious for the Holy Roman emperors than it was for England and France. The English and French kings never really fully had their authority challenged by the church. The French kings, even later in the Middle Ages, established the right to appoint their own bishops to the church. They became, in effect, a semi-independent part of the Catholic Church. In the Holy Roman Empire, the emperor's authority was seriously challenged. The Pope claimed the right not merely to excommunicate the emperors if they were bad, or if they opposed the church, but also to depose them and make other emperors in their place. One result of this was the Holy Roman Empire remained an elected title. In France and England, the dynastic principle, the principle that the kingdom would be passed on to usually the oldest son of the king, was established. In the Holy Roman Empire, at least in theory, that never established itself. The imperial title tended to remain within the same families, but it had to be elected by the leading lords and princes of the empire, allowing for enemies such as the Pope to weaken the emperor by proposing other candidates, and also requiring the emperors to shell out a lot of money, bribing electors to vote for them.